Hello everybody, and welcome back to Cask and Points. Today we have a very fun River Roots flight that I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. So River Roots, if you're not familiar, is an NDP or non-distilling producer out of Cleveland, Ohio. So they source all of their whiskeys. They're primarily buying from Jim Beam, from Heaven Hill, and from MGP. They're buying bourbons, they're buying ryes, and sometimes they're buying some funky things in between. And then they'll store those barrels themselves, and then they'll sell them back to bourbon groups, to liquor stores, to whoever else is interested in buying those barrels. And sometimes they'll even play around and finish some whiskeys and all that good stuff too. So I've really been a huge fan of River Roots so far. I've actually only been to 3 barrel picks so far in my bourbon journey, and 2 of them have been at River Roots in Cleveland, which is pretty fun. So I've been a big fan of their stuff just naturally. I picked the Ronin barrel here, which was part of the New Era Bourbon Club, and then I also picked a barrel with a liquor store here in Connecticut, Universal Wine and Spirits, and that'll be available sometime in May. So once that releases, I'll definitely let you guys know, and we'll do a review on that one as well. But they had a really cool offering recently that I wanted to feature, and so I threw around some other things as well. So the featured bottle today is this Quadruple Oak. This Quadruple Oak has a really fun history. So it's 10 years, 6 months, 131.62 proof, has a really, really gorgeous photo of this like cake thing going on, and the story of it is just hilarious. So I was speaking with Ryan, the head of River Roots, about 2 weeks ago about this barrel, and he told me, so they had a lot of double oaked barrels. So these barrels were bought from Heaven Hill, and then they toasted them themselves and created this really nice double oak that people have really thought positively of so far. After the double oaking, he decided that this was just the worst of the double oak barrels. He really didn't like it, he didn't care for it, and so he decided to finish it in malt whiskey. They had these barrels of really crazy 148, 152 proof malt whiskeys that were basically created from like beer. Like, it was apparently like a beer stout that ended up getting distilled and aged, and it was a really funky thing. They're like 14 years old. They don't have any more available, but I actually do have a sample of one, so we'll be trying one today. But these barrels were weird. They taste like weed. Seriously, there isn't that much complexity on them. They just taste like weed. And so for some reason, he thought that this would fix the barrel, so he finished it in that weed malt barrel, and then it was even worse. He said he hated the barrel. He didn't even think he could sell it. And then after that, he said, well, I should finish it again in something that might actually save it. What's the best stuff we have right now? The BuffTurkeys. And so he finished it in a BuffTurkey barrel, and that BuffTurkey barrel ended up doing magic. And so we now have a barrel that was technically distilled and aged at Heaven Hill, then bought by River Roots and toasted, and then finished in a malt whiskey, and then finished in a BuffTurkey barrel. Quadruple Oak. So I think this is also punching a little bit to the Woodford Double Oak, which isn't actually a double, i.e. quadruple oak. It's actually just a triple oak. This is truly a quadruple oak. This bourbon was in 4 different barrels in its aging process. So we're going to be trying that here today. And we also have some other fun things. So we have a Jim Beam barrel. This is called Going Nuts. It was a Drums and Drams pick. This is just sourced Jim Beam. I believe the stats here. So it's 9 years, 11 months, and 122.64 proof. We then have this Cupid bottle here. This is a 12-year, 128.6 proof, and this is barrel 186. And this is just one of their standard MGP products that I think is really, really good. We then have the Quadruple Oak that we just talked about, and then we have this malt whiskey here, which is a 13-year, 148.1 proof barrel 507. So I really appreciate a good buddy of mine, Ross, that provided me with all the samples to do this video besides the Quadruple Oak here. I do have a bottle of the Cupid, but he had also sent me a sample of it before, so I figured we'll use the sample first. I'll get into the bottle one day. But let's get right into it here. I'm really excited for this. I love what River Roots is doing. I'm really hoping that we'll be able to do a really nice cask and point pick with them sometime soon. But let's get right into it here. Let's start here with the Beam. And we have a very random flight here. We have a bourbon, we have a rye, we have a quadruple oak, we have a malt whiskey. This is going to be funky, but I just wanted to share all the different offerings, see what we think of them. And so let's get right into it. Oh yeah, a lot of rich nuttiness on this one. Definitely smelling the Jim Beam. I will note though, a lot of caramel, a lot of brown sugar. For me, what really makes Jim Beam go to the next level is that caramel, is that brown sugar. I think the nuttiness is just going to be on everything, but when you can really get a lot of sweetness on it, that's how you really get a special barrel. To me, yeah, this is nice. But I mean, the pecan is so rich on that one. The nuttiness, the peanut brittle, it's all there. Let's try it. Wow. That's really, really good. It's not super high in proof. It is like 122 proof, and it's drinking about 122 proof here. Really nutty on the palate, but enough of the caramel there as well that makes it really nice. solid port of whiskey. Nothing I'd go absolutely crazy about, but definitely very, very good. I like this better than any Booker's batch I've really had. The Booker's batches for me, when they're 6, 7 years old, there's a certain roughness to them and really strong heat to them when they're bottled at that cask strength 125 proof. Whereas I think when you get into the picks that are 9, 10, 11 years old out of Beam, that Nashville Barrel Company is also doing and River Roots is doing, they're much better. they're a good bit better. They really do well here. And obviously, I don't know if this is particularly a Booker's barrel or if this is just a Jim Beam barrel. I'm not sure if there really is a distinction within the warehouse, but I know some people have referred to other barrels as Booker barrels, and some have referred to them as Beam barrels, so I don't know if there's a difference, but this is a Jim Beam barrel for all I know. It's very, very good. Let's take a second sip. Oh yeah. Really nice nuttiness on that one. Also starting to get some really nice cherry on that as well. And then definitely a lot of oak. A lot of rich oak, a lot of the pecan, a lot of the nuttiness, a lot of the peanut brittle. Finish here is about medium length, although the peanut brittle really doesn't go away. So it's actually closer to medium long length, which is interesting. The palate here isn't super strong. Man, that's good. That's really, really nice. For a bottle that I think was somewhere in the $80 to $120 range. I know New Era Bourbon Club, when we did our Jim Beam pick here, this is a sister barrel. Since I'd already reviewed it, I decided to toss another Jim Beam into this flight. But that bottle, I think, was $125 or so. So I would assume this one is probably in that range. Could be a little bit cheaper. I don't know. This is really, really nice. A bit better than the Ronin that we had from New Era Bourbon Club. But, you know, they're close. They're close. This is really nice, though. Let's take a third sip. Let's give it a rating. Since we aren't really deciding what the best one here is, we're kind of just featuring 4 different pours. I'm just going to give a rating, and then we'll just go on to the other ones. But I'm really excited for that malt whiskey at the end there. That one is going to be funky. And I've saved it until the end because it's 148 proof. And I figured if I tried that and then tried something else, it would just ruin my palate. So, yeah, I mean, this smells delicious, though. Let's take this third sip. That's solid Beam. It's nothing special. It's nothing that's going to blow your mind. It's super solid, super sweet, nutty. Everything you want in a Jim Beam barrel. To me, that's an 8.1. Very solid. Very good. I think well worth 120 bucks, 130 bucks, whatever it was. Very good. All right, here, so let's go on to the rye. This bottle right here, the Cupid bottle, it's barrel 186, 12 years, 3 months, 128.6 proof. And a pretty cool photo of Cupid there. This is a Founder's Reserve pick, so this one was sold directly in their gift shop, I believe. And one thing that I would really keep in mind with River Roots is they do sell a lot of their stuff on their website. And sometimes they sell their really special barrels on the website, some of these Founder Select and stuff like that. So definitely keep an eye on their website. And they do ship in a lot of places. I was able to buy this off of their website, the Quadruple Oak. It wasn't cheap. It was about $200. So hopefully it'll be worth it. We'll get to it in a second. But the ryes are usually only $90 or $100. And obviously with shipping, that's going to get closer to around $125. But really well worth it for a very good MGP. But let's see here. Really nice jamminess on this. Really nice raspberry jam. Really nice cherry. Really nice plum on it. Definitely getting the spice in it as well. Some vanilla. And just on the nose, this is exactly what I look for in a rye. I really like the MGP ryes that can get really jammy and really fruity. The pick that we picked for the Universal, that'll be a 13-year, that will release sometime in May, was very jam forward. This is very similar to that. Since it's a rye, you are going to get that spice no matter what. And so when you really get fruit-forward ryes, you just have two elements working in tandem so well together. Man, that's good. Let's try it. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so rich. Oh, that's so good. Wow, really fruity on that one. And I'll be honest, I've reviewed a few of the ryes already. I did a video on Reaper a few months ago. I did a short on Naughty or Nice. So those are the two bottles here. Not sure if you guys can see it here, but these two bottles, the Naughty or Nice and then the Reaper all the way at the end here, those were delicious ryes. Those were sold right out of their gift shop. And a good buddy of mine named Don was able to help me get those. So really appreciate it, Don. But this rye is different. It's better. It's a good bit better. And, I mean, it makes sense. This is a Founder Select, so this is what they decided was one of their best barrels. And I agree with them. It is definitely one of their best barrels. Really, really nice rye on this one. Really nice fruitiness on this one. I love fruit-forward rye. Let's take another sip. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just hitting you in so many different elements. I mean, you have like a really nice, obviously in the forefront there, that red fruit, the jam on that one, but you also have a really strong vanilla out of it. You really have a really strong like, blackcurrant as well on this one. You have that rye spice that's totally there, the cinnamon, the nutmeg. Wow. That is a delicious pour. I like that definitely much more than the bourbon. I know some people say it's sacrilegious to compare different whiskeys together. On the channel, we rate everything, and we use one scale to rate everything, so I am going to compare things together here. Although, my good buddy Ross that sent me these samples, he doesn't believe that I should be doing these things. So I apologize, Ross, but this is really, really good, and it's better than the bourbon. Man, that's so nice. Let's take a third sip. Yeah. So obviously, you can't expect every barrel to taste like that. And I will say, I've tried maybe 10 of their 12-year MGPs at this point, between going for both of the barrel picks where I tried about 4 or 5 each, and I guess actually trying some of these and other samples. I've actually tried closer to 15 of them. And this is up there for me. This is probably my second or third favorite. And it's good to try a range of barrels because sometimes you really think a certain barrel is so amazing. But then when you realize that there are other things there that are also really, really good, it just helps put things in perspective. I know when I first rated Reaper here, I rated it an 8.5 because I hadn't tried anything that was really all that good from MGP. And so it just blew my mind. But now that I've tried other River Roots barrels that I think are a good bit better and other MGP products from other NDPs, I realize Reaper's great. I love Reaper. I love that bottle. It's definitely the thing that really put me onto River Roots, but it's not the most amazing thing in the world. This is definitely better. I'm going to rate that an 8.4. I think it's super solid. Really a lot of what I like in a rye. I think the finish is medium length. I think you have a really nice blend of that fruitiness and that spice. But let's move on to this Quad Oak. So this Quad Oak here, like I said, just such a crazy story behind it. And on the nose, it's so funky. Oh, man. So, you do get a little bit of that weed. You do get a little bit of that malt whiskey influence to it. Somebody described this whiskey to me as weed gummies. And that's pretty funny. Now, this isn't a fresh crack. I did open this a few days ago and sent a sample to a good buddy of mine. And I really wanted to open it beforehand because I wanted to be fair to it. I figured it might open up pretty funky. So, it has been open for a couple days. That's so interesting. There's a really nice richness in there as well. Really nice oak in there. Tons of vanilla, tons of caramel, good amount of spice. And a good amount of cherry as well, and a little bit of that jam. I mean, you really have this battling on all cylinders. You really have that kind of buff turkeyness on it, which itself is a weird blend of wild turkey and Buffalo Trace. And this really has a nice mix of that cherry that I would get off of a Buffalo Trace product, but also a little bit of that like tobacco richness and oakiness that I would get out of a wild turkey product. But then you also have this backdrop of like weed gummies to it. I think from that malt whiskey, you do have a nice creaminess and butter from that toasted barrel. Oh man. There's a lot going on here. Really just such a mix of flavors here. Let's try it. Oh, that's so weird. Oh, that's so odd. So it starts off really oaky, and then you get into this like weed in the mid palate. Then you really get a finish that's really nice buff turkey. I mean, that's super solid. It's nothing that I think will blow your mind. I'll be honest, on an objective scale, I don't think it's all that much better or really all that different in caliber from their 12-year MGP rye. But it's really good. Now, I haven't been a big fan of their Heaven Hill Double Oaks, I will be honest. And so I know a lot of people have just been going nuts for these barrels, absolutely loving them. It's 130 proof Heaven Hill that's been toasted. People just think that they're the best thing ever. For me, they're a little bit citrus forward in the 3 that I've tried. And so this obviously being a base of that and being the worst of that Heaven Hill Double Oaked, then getting a weird malt finish, then getting a weird buff turkey finish. I mean, this wins all the points for being funky, for being unique. But for me, I mean, this isn't a stellar bottle, but maybe I should have bought 2 at $200. Like, it's that good. Like, it's that good that I'm definitely going to be sad when it's gone, and it has such a cool story to it, and it looks so cool. It just looks so cool. But anyways. Yeah, I mean, really, really rich oak on this one is going to be the most prominent note. But you have the BuffTurkey in there. You have the malt in there. The weed there isn't really coming out as strong as I was expecting. But wow, let's take a second sip. Okay. Now I'm getting a little bit more of that malt influence. So there's definitely a strong maltiness in there. There's definitely a little bit of that weed, which I think is the malt. But there's also just normal maltiness in there. There's definitely a strong fruitiness throughout the pour. Finishes around medium length. And I'll be honest, this is pretty reminiscent of, like, at the end of a video sometimes I'll just throw glasses together. And sometimes I'll take a sip of that glass, and it's a weird blend of, like, a rye and a bourbon and a malt whiskey and whatever. And sometimes it tastes pretty good. And usually, even when it tastes pretty good, though, the finish is pretty short. And it's just weird. And this is really reminiscent of that. I mean, this is just such a random profile here that I think is good. I like it a lot. But it's that kind of funkiness where it just really threw a bunch of things together. I don't think this is a bottle that people should really be going absolutely insane for. I know some people have already tried to get a bottle of this for $300, even $350 on secondary markets. I don't think it's worth that, if I'm being honest. I'm happy I have the bottle, though. So I think for the sake of the story, for the sake of the uniqueness, I don't know how often we will see quadruple oaks out of places, whether they're NDPs or normal distilleries. And so, for that fact, I mean, maybe it's worth that, but I don't think so. I think the juice is good. I think it's just weird. Let's take a third sip here. Let's give it a rating, then let's move on to the malt whiskey. It's good. It's good. Honestly, it's been pretty different on each sip. I think the first sip was really cherry forward. The second sip was super malty. The third sip wasn't really malty at all, actually. It was actually much more weed forward. And there was also a really nice, rich cherry, rich plum, rich vanilla to it. Much more like the double oaked, much more like the BuffTurkey. I mean, you really have three elements that are working together, and you could really pick out those elements in that bottle. That's a delicious product. I'm going to also rate that an 8.4. I think it's slightly better to me than the rye. I think it just really wins a lot of points on being interesting. But to be fair, that finish is probably medium length, short to medium length. I think that's really holding it back, but just such a unique story, such an interesting bottle, well worth the $200 MSRP on it. I wouldn't pay that much more than that, but that's just me. Let's move on to this malt whiskey. So like I said, this is a 13-year, 148.1 proof malt whiskey. And it smells like weed. So we tried one of the malt barrels when I was there at River Roots about 2 weeks ago. I don't know exactly what barrel it was. It obviously wasn't going to be this barrel, since this barrel that I have a sample of was bottled already, and obviously when I tried it in the barrel, it hadn't been bottled already. Just so interesting here. There's a really strong stout influence as well. I believe this all started from like a stout distillery out of California that ended up deciding to distill their beer that was already really high proof, and then it just ended up getting into this insane proof, and they didn't know what the heck to do with it. So I think River Roots had 3 or 4 bottles of it, and some people say that this is the best stuff River Roots has ever done. And I believe this is some of the first stuff that they've ever done. That's interesting. But it smells like a weed gummy. Like, it really smells like a weed gummy here. Now, I don't smoke any weed, but I do spend a lot of time in Manhattan, and I smell a lot of weed, unfortunately. And to me, this smells like that weed that I smell in Manhattan. So weird. Oh my god, let's take a sip. What the heck? Oh my god. So, I definitely get the stout in the beginning. And then it tastes like weed. No, that tastes like weed. No. I don't have that much experience as to what weed should taste like. I know how it smells, unfortunately. But I will say, when I think it would taste like, when I think all these things, oh my god, it's really good. I mean, look, I think if you hate weed, you hate the weed smell, which I don't like that particularly. Maybe this isn't going to be for you. It's really niche, but it's just so weird and so unique that I am loving this pour. It doesn't drink anywhere close to 148 proof. I mean, this is drinking probably around 120 proof, maybe even less than that. And I will say, you are also getting that really strong stout influence. And I do like the smell of stout. I do like some stouts. I haven't had that much experience with fancy beers. I do have a beer that a good buddy of mine named Mo sent me that I've really been meaning to try for the channel. So I will get to that at some point. But man, I mean, this is beer and weed. This is so weird. I want a bottle of this. I mean, I really... That's so odd. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you give to a buddy that's just getting into bourbon. And you're like, oh, you're getting into bourbon? Here, why don't you try this? Let me know what you think. I love this. And just see what the heck they think. Because that is just so odd. I mean, that wins all the points on uniqueness there. It might be my favorite pour. And look, it's not the most complex. It doesn't have the most robust finish. But it is the most interesting. This is a lot of what I like about River Roots. You have just such a different portfolio of products. I think a lot of NDPs, as they're getting into it, are really just sourcing MGP. Are they just sourcing one thing or the other? These guys are really willing to get into the funky stuff. And man, this is funky. Let's take another sip. Whew. Okay, that's to put a little bit more roughness on it. But it tastes like a weed gummy. I mean, it really tastes like weed. That's so odd. That is so odd. Now, that's something that I wouldn't drink every day, but those that do, I get it. I mean, I don't know how the heck that's 148 proof. That is so interesting here. Wow. I mean, look, I'm going to have to rate it an 8.3. It cannot be as good as these other two pours that were much more robust, much more complex. But if you want a weird pour, I don't know how the heck to get these anymore. They clearly still have some that are going to be for sale because they still had some barrels at the warehouse just about 2 weeks ago. But man, I need a bottle of this. That is so odd. Wow. And to my understanding, I think they're all going to be pretty much like this because I've now tried 2 of them and they tasted exactly the same. So I would assume all the others that are similar stats, I don't know how different they can really be. Man. Oh man. That is so odd here. I'm going to leave that. That is 148 proof, so I don't want to drink too much of it, but wow. I mean, in conclusion, River Roots doing some fun things. We have a beam barrel here. I don't know how many more beam barrels they have. I don't think that they have too many more of them, but I think that series was really solid. Nothing that really blew my mind. Definitely my least favorite of the flight, but still very solid. I think their MGPs, they're constantly going to be buying MGP Ryes. Just absolutely delicious pours. Really getting barrels that I think are on the same par as Brook Hill Ryes from Rare Character and all these other things. And so definitely something to really keep your eye out on and really get into what I think can be some of the best Ryes on the market given that price. We have a Quad Oak here. It's unique. It's interesting. I don't know if they'll ever do it again, but I'm glad it exists. And then this really weird malt barrel, which if you ever get the opportunity to try, let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. But this is River Roots. I really like River Roots. I'm really excited to see what they'll put out in the future. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.